Yes, indeed, folks. You're tuned into Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. And only 15 minutes until the Fargo interview. Yes, indeed, the Fargo interview. I'm going to give you 5 minutes from now. Currently, on my clock, it says 17:51 and 15 seconds. In 5 minutes, I am closing the entry box to the Pass the Torch contest. Yes, I am closing it, so you better get to it very, very quickly. If you never received a verification email from the start, you need to go to entry.php. That's wcradio.com/entry.php and enter there. You've got like 4.5 minutes, so I would be very, very quick indeed if you want to get entered into the random draw. Now, the email that we got earlier, the crazy, either you're very, very unlucky and very, very, I wouldn't say pitiful, but, you know, I can kind of sympathise with the whole situation, or you're the biggest troll ever, reminded me of the BlizzCon ticket issue. And by issue, of course, a lot of people are calling it a disaster, a debacle. All of these other crazy words that they just dug out of the thesaurus in order to sound clever. Now, here's the deal. BlizzCon is going on October the 11th, if I recall correctly. October the 11th, October the 12th, or 10th or 11th, I can't really remember which, in Anaheim, California, in the Anaheim Convention Center. Now, what is BlizzCon? BlizzCon is a big fan meet crossed with a kind of press conference and all of this other cool events that are going on for people that like Blizzard games. Now, historically, it's mostly been about WoW, although there's been elements of StarCraft. There's always been Warcraft 3 and StarCraft tournaments. The first time we went, we actually got to play StarCraft Ghost, which wasn't as bad as people claimed it was. Obviously, it's now been cancelled, so shame about that. And, of course, last time people went, they got to see a lot about StarCraft 2 and the expansion. And this year, we're expecting, of course, much information and hopefully playtime of Diablo 3. Now, they expanded the amount of people that could go because loads and loads of people wanted to go. An awful lot of people. Now, I think they underestimate just how many, because they managed to sell out their tickets in 8 minutes. Yes, they did, 8 minutes. And usually you'd say, well, okay, fine, they sold out the tickets in 8 minutes. That's nothing unusual. I mean, big concerts and gigs with popular bands and all that kind of thing, they sell out that quickly all the time. Now, the problem is that it did so in 8 minutes over the course of 2 days. The rest of the time, the website was broken down or ended up charging one of our listeners 58 times. Yes, I am not kidding. 58 charges on his credit card in order to try and actually buy a ticket. Now, why Blizzard decided to do it themselves rather than actually put it through, say, Ticketmaster or anyone that's remotely used to handling these kind of things, I really do not know. And there are some conspiracy theories flying around, particularly that scalpers had already scripted out the website. And as soon as the tickets went on sale, scalpers ran a load of automated scripts, which is what caused the website to crash. And ticket scalpers are the ones that ended up walking away with the tickets. Now, of course, that's just a conspiracy theory, and I've really got nothing to prove it, but it does seem to be relatively likely. Now, there has been a response, indeed, from Blizzard. Their PR manager, by the name of Sean Dameron, who we have spoken to, and I am a big fan of. I like Sean. Sean's a great guy. And this comes from the OC Register, the Orange County news source. And I'm going to be reading this, and I'm going to be commenting on the state of the ticket sale system over the next 15 or so minutes. So, if you are sitting company? What? Sitting company? What am I talking about? Sitting comfortably. Then I will begin. Now, he said this. The issues that people faced were due to an incredible rush to purchase tickets. Last year, we sold about 2 tickets per minute, selling out in 72 hours. Now, I seem to recall, actually, that it was a lot quicker than that. I remember buying tickets then, but the thing is, they released the tickets in waves, so it was a little bit easier. Now, he said this, of course, and then said that 50% more tickets were available this year, and they sold out in a combined total of 15 minutes. This meant that thousands of people were trying to purchase tickets at the same time, so some people were not able to get all the way through the purchase process before the tickets had been sold out. Now, yes, we've actually heard about that. We've heard about people saying that they got through to the end and said the status of the items in your shopping cart has changed. And by changed, of course, we mean, yeah, you can't have it, which is harsh, to say the least. Now, he says this, any idea how many requests you were hit with to bring the system down? Well, he says that they don't have an exact number, but it's safe to assume that it was well into the thousands. Well, yeah, I imagine that it was well into the thousands, to be honest, but then again, it would hardly be the first time that sites have been brought down due to rushes. Now, of course, there are many and varied ways to ensure that that doesn't happen. So, I'd like to know, let's see if the rest of this article has any information as to why this happened in the first place. Now, Question that was asked. Last year it took 3 days to sell out 8,000 tickets. Sounds like many, many more fans wanted tickets this year. What was the difference this year? And he said, most likely it has to do with the fact that we currently have more announced games in development than ever before. The second World of Warcraft expansion is in beta testing, StarCraft 2 is well into development, and we recently announced Diablo 3 at our worldwide invitational event in Paris. Our goal was to address additional demand by adding another convention hall and 50% more tickets, but clearly that wasn't enough. We'll continue to review the entire process in order to better address these issues for future Blizzard events. Now, I mean, I'm not sure that I am entirely buying the whole, oh, well, false modesty thing. Well, we didn't know so many people would want to be there. I mean, to be honest, BlizzCon, with the downfall of E3, is becoming one of the biggest gaming events of the year. I mean, it really is, alongside Comic-Con, Gen Con, and all that kind of thing. It's becoming one of the largest video game enthusiast events of the year, and it's not just general gaming. I mean, that's what makes it really surprising. You're dealing with Blizzard games only, mostly WoW fans, some StarCraft fans and Diablo fans, of course, but mostly WoW fans. Now, that is actually shocking. The size, I mean, I was at the first BlizzCon back in 2005, and there were a lot of people there, and the tickets sold out, I think it was probably about over the course of a week. And a lot of people still said they wanted to go. Now, the year after that, they sold out even quicker. And it just seems very odd to me that they thought an extra 50% would be enough. I mean, to me, it seems like this entire thing could be run in multiple locations. I mean, they could not so much go on tour with it, but at least have one on East Coast and one on West Coast. It's obvious the demand is there, because they opened the WWI, and it all sold out very, very fast. And the WWI isn't even as good as BlizzCon. I mean, the WWI was like a BlizzCon light. It was mostly tournament-based. There was some WoW information. There was some panels. There was some stuff about Diablo 3. Obviously, quite surprisingly, they did a big announcement over there, which means that it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they actually have a big announcement for this BlizzCon in October. But I think that should have demonstrated that there is a huge, huge following that are willing to go to BlizzCon, even with the current state of air travel being as expensive as it is, and of course gas prices in the United States. There was a huge, huge audience for it, so it just seems very odd to me that they wouldn't bother. I mean, I don't know whether or not BlizzCon is actually making money. I mean, they're charging $100 a ticket, and they've currently sold, I mean, last year they sold 8,000. 50% more than 8,000, so you're looking at 12,000, and then they're saying an extra 3,000, and I'll come on to those 3,000 in a minute. So you're looking at 15,000 times by 100, you know, you can do the math yourself. Now, if the convention is really costing more than that, then I'd like to know where the money's actually going, especially bearing in mind that every product that's on the floor in BlizzCon is paying to be there, yeah? We know this because we've tried to get a booth on the BlizzCon floor before, and you're looking at a bare minimum of $10,000 to actually do that. Now, that's fine, because, I mean, that's how conventions work, and I'm certainly not going to blame Blizzard for that. You know, that's a great way of making money. It's also a great way of creating partnerships and affiliations with popular gaming products. So, yeah, conventions are always about the swag, aside from the panels and all the other stuff. So, buying stuff at the convention, completely normal. Selling stuff at a convention, again, completely normal. But what it does bring to the forefront is just how much do these things cost that they can't afford to do another one. Whether or not they can't afford to do another one, or whether they're just either not willing or just don't think it's worthwhile, I really do not know. Obviously, I can't really speculate on the whole thing. But it does seem to me rather odd that they haven't at least considered it, especially after the hit of WWI. Now, the 3,000 tickets that I just mentioned, let me fill you in on what's going to be happening with that. The next question on this particular Q&A was this. Lots of complaints from frustrated fans who stayed up for 2 days refreshing their screens, getting tickets into their carts and then nothing. Will they have any recourse? Now, Sean says this. We plan to make 3,000 more tickets available for purchasing via a drawing. We will have more details on that soon, but it's important to note that only players who created a Blizzard account for the online store by the time the sold-out message was posted on Tuesday will be eligible to purchase any of the tickets available in the drawing. Having a drawing will help us avoid the rush to buy tickets that's resulted in people not being able to get all the way through the purchase process. Now, as to how this is exactly going to work, they have not entirely revealed it. The way that I think it's going to work is simply this. I think they're going to be announcing it, and they're going to give you a few days to enter into the lottery if you have a valid Blizzard account and you have had one since August 12th. And once they've done that, they will then basically do the drawing. They'll give several days, because the site will go down on the first attempt, inevitably. So they'll give several days for people to enter, and then they'll basically do a raffle prize style drawing. You'll have about 24 hours to purchase your ticket, and if you don't, it will go on to the next one in the line. That, I think, is how they're going to be doing it. At least, that's how I would do it. I mean, that makes sense. Now, I'm not really going to complain at this idea because, to be honest, is there a fairer way? Now, you might say that, well, the people who got there first should get them first. Well, to be honest, that really isn't necessarily a fair thing. It's not to say that, hey, I'm the biggest Blizzard fan ever, so I should get the ticket. That's just not how it works at all. Now, it's unfortunate that you can't get everyone into this, but, conventions are very, very finite. The Anaheim Convention Center is relatively large, but it's certainly not the largest convention center ever, and you have a limited capacity. It's really that simple. There's not a lot you can really do about that, other than have more events. And, even stuff like Gen Con and Comic Con do not have multiple events. They're all in the same place every year, and they're huge conventions. So, for Blizzard to actually go and say, hey, okay, well, we'll do conventions in multiple locations would be not unprecedented, but certainly relatively rare, especially for a very niche convention. So I can kind of understand that. I think the lottery system is a good way to do it. Now, what really pleases me about this whole thing, and yes, there is actually something to please me about this whole thing, even though most people have been saying, well, this is a disaster, this is a debacle, Blizzard, what you're doing, is the fact that Mike Morhaime had the balls to apologize. And to me, that is a big thing. And I've just been informed, of course, that Gen Con does have multiple locations. That's entirely my fault. I've never, of course, been there before, because I've only been in the States for a year. I'm an idiot! I will say that out loud right on the air. I'm an idiot. But what I will say, of course, is that most conventions do not have multiple locations. So yeah, maybe BlizzCon could. Anyway, back to the state of Mike Morhaime. Now, Mike Morhaime issued what, to me, seemed like a pretty damn sincere apology. And that takes balls. That really does. It takes balls to actually get up and say, sorry. We really didn't do too well with this. Now, if you want to read the apology, there's a really good post on WoW Insider, and you can go read there if you wish, or you can go onto blizzard.com/BlizzCon, and he posted what he calls a personal apology. And it's a nice little statement. I'll read it out for you. And it says this: Blizzard gamers, on behalf of everyone at Blizzard, I want to apologize for the challenges and frustrations you experienced while trying to purchase BlizzCon tickets on Monday and Tuesday. BlizzCon is about the positive experiences you all have had with Blizzard games. As a result of this week's events, the excitement that many of you have felt has turned into dissatisfaction and disappointment. Due to those circumstances, we have re-evaluated our convention hall space and come up with some solutions that will allow us to offer 3,000 more tickets for sale. This won't be enough to satisfy the very high level of demand, but we want to ensure that BlizzCon remains a great experience for those who are able to attend. We'll be selling these as part of a lottery, and we'll be finalizing our plans at a later date. Yours sincerely, Mike Morhaime. Now, I'm cool with that. And you know me, I'm very, very critical of anything that PR guys have to say. Even though I like Sean, I'll happily criticize whatever PR guys have to say, especially when it comes from Mike Morhaime. But to be quite honest, I'm pretty much cool with how they said that. I'm fine with it. They messed up. They really messed up, and no one's going to defend that. But the thing is, they're not defending it either. They're not coming up with excuses or anything like that. Even the PR guys, even Sean isn't coming up with excuses and saying, well, this happened. No, it's just like, we screwed up, we're sorry, we're going to try and make it better. And I think, hopefully what can come from this, a very positive thing that can come from this, is the fact that Blizzard will realize, they will actually realize that BlizzCon is a heck of a lot more popular than they might think, and that next year multiple locations probably a very good idea. Get that into your heads, guys, seriously. If you can get an East Coast and the West Coast, that would be a great start for the US, and of course make sure the WI comes back to Europe, because obviously people want to be there. And people might ask me, well, why do you want to go to BlizzCon so much? Because I'm excited about BlizzCon, I'm excited about going this year, and to me, I don't know, it's just, there's something about BlizzCon that is very exciting to me, and I suppose it's about the whole social aspect of WoW actually being given physical form. I've always been a great advocate for the social values of WoW and the actual benefits that socializing in an MMORPG can provide, as opposed to real-world social activity. I think both should mix, certainly, but usually with MMOs, you're pretty much stuck with one or the other. Now, BlizzCon gives an opportunity for them to mix and for you to meet people and people who have similar beliefs to you and just have a good time. Have a good time in it's not so much of a magical environment, but it's certainly a very unusual environment, and you can really get into the whole sway of things and really just, without a care in the world, have a good time, play some good games, meet some good people, have a few drinks, buy some swag, listen to some cool panels, hear some cool announcements first, and just be swept away in the whole experience. And I think that's a very, very positive thing. So I hope to see you guys at BlizzCon this year, and what I will say is that we will be broadcasting for BlizzCon this year. I can guarantee that. We haven't quite confirmed our plans as of yet, but what we do know is we have permission to broadcast, so any of you who either can't or won't afford DirecTV, well, you'll be getting free coverage from us. Oh yes, you will. So stay tuned on WCRadio.com and keep an eye on the website for information on that coming sometime at a later date. Now, I've given you a little bit more time than I said I would, so I am now going to say that after 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The contest is now closed. Email box is closing now. There will be no more entrants, and in the next half an hour, that means me and Fargo, will be announcing the winners. Yes, the winners of the contest, and it's going to be great. I'm going to be right back after this with the one and only Fargo, one of the founders of GameSpy and the creator of Flintlock Comics. I'll be asking him about the future of Flintlock, as well as the GameSpy network, and his opinions on World of Warcraft. And you can ask a question in IRC. You've got to message Cooked Auto, MT, or Zephyric with a question, and they will send the good questions to me in the second half of the interview. My name is Total Biscuit. This is Blue Please. This is WoW Radio. Here's a little bit of Red Alert 2 music. Frank Klepacki, a genius as far as I'm concerned. This is Hell March 2, and I'll be right back with a Fargo interview. Live on WoW Radio. Enjoy.